Yes, absolutely, and we have to put it inside the wider scope of the European Union's relation with Belarus. The European Union has been trying to pressure the Lukashenko's administration to open up more, liberalize the country and stop the cracking down on democratic forces. I mean, let's remind that Lukashenko has been re-elected under very shady circumstances, and obviously is cracking down on some forces in this country that have been going for more, democracy and more human rights. And as a result, because of the series of sanctions from the EU, Lukashenko is using migrants from the Middle East and channeling them towards the EU, trying to create an additional, migrant crisis at the EU borders. So we have to understand this in the larger context, and in the context of the European Union trying to, strengthen the democratic forces in one of its neighboring countries and trying to topple the Lukashenko regimes. And the true victims right now here are obviously the migrants that have been channeled through official planes to Minsk and then out to the frontier, and now facing tear gases and security forces at the frontier with Poland and the Baltic states.
Can you talk a little bit about Russia's role in all of this? Is it a mediator? Is it playing off of both sides?
Well, there's always very strong relationship between Belarus and Russia. There are some thoughts that Russia might be behind this policy. There was also an attempt from the Lukashenko regimes to try to limit the transportation of gas through the countries to the European Union. So there was another leeway or attempt at leveraging power against the European Union. And there, in that case, Russia said that it would actually not play that game and will continue exporting natural gas to the European Union. So on the front of the energy side, the Russians have not been backing up Belarus for obvious economic reasons, but it's very likely and possible that the Minsk administration, Lukashenko, is taking some of its advices from the Kremlin in Russia.
Iraq is urging its nationals to come home. The first voluntary, we should stress, by the way, repatriation flight is on Thursday. How likely is it that people will go back?
Well, obviously, it's going to be on an individual case, and some migrants, we have to understand that their attempts at trying to go to the European Union, especially when they're coming from areas in Syria or areas in the Middle East which are facing intense conflict. The problem for those migrants is that they're being sold the dream of being able to come to the European Union. The answer from the European Union has been extremely strong, backing Poland and trying to protect the frontier. It's actually quite interesting when you know about the relation between Poland and the European Union. It's very unlikely that any of those migrants will be able to pass the frontier, especially right now with the strengthening of the police forces. But whether they'll individually decide to try to go back to their country, which is kind of hard in many cases, or will try to find a way through the frontier. In that case, we have to keep in mind that we're actually arriving into the winter month, and they're going to be having very, very strong and cold temperature very soon. So the conditions there are really the conditions of a humanitarian crisis. And then the decision whether or not to go back to their country is on an individual basis.
Any solution, any resolution would require cooperation from Minsk. How likely is that?
Well, it's very unlikely that there will be collaboration from Minsk, from the European Union position. Minsk is still going to try to be looking for different leverage to pressure Brussels to try to maintain a regime that has absolutely no more legitimacy in Minsk, and as we've seen from the mass demonstration during the time of the elections. Right now, it might be that the key to this issue might actually be, as it's often the case between Eastern European countries or the Central Asia and Europe, between Moscow and Brussels, basically, and maybe dissuasions and mediation from Putin or other actors, and the United Nations and European Union is very much involved in trying to solve this crisis at the border. But Lukashenko is trying all he can to continue having his grip on the country, and is obviously not likely to collaborate with Brussels.